an interchange. And then it also said, I guess Sam wasn't with us last week, right?
No, I don't know if I don't know if you guys had last week, but we didn't. We weren't around because we were doing a sprint every other week. We're doing a sprint.
Okay, and maybe it's far. It's a long time ago, but maybe Jay, were you? You must have been there, right?
I was there last week for a little while. I think
right,
it was
and
just
then you left early, and I think I spoke with Janet for a while. So anyway, but I'm curious, when you said in the Slack, you said you were working on setting up homework 2, and homework 2 is the. Hi, Janet.
Hi.
We were just recapping very briefly the storm that went through my area and what happened last week, and saying that Sam probably wouldn't be here today. On Slack, it looks like Matt and Jay were talking about homework 2, which is the Sinatra homework.
Correct.
Which I'm planning to release and work on with my class tomorrow. So I'm interested in any sort of insights or if you want to summarize what went on.
You're using Codio, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I can send you the instructions that I've written up for students to adapt the actual homework instructions, and I'm only on part 0 so far.
Okay.
To Codio, with all of this information really came from Matt.
Okay.
And I am now, based on some stuff that Matt and Sam sent me before I got on this call, before I woke up, still trying to get the Heroku done.
Okay. And just at a high level, I see the one issue is that we sort of knew of is that in order to communicate with a server, sort of a local server that you might be running in Codio, we need to use a different port.
Right.
And that we knew about. And what's the other issue with Heroku?
I'm just trying to get it pushed to Heroku and get it working on Heroku. So there was a question about what that instruction in the proc file for Heroku is supposed to be.
Okay. And do you have, Matt, do you have insight into that?
Yeah, like, so the Heroku stuff shouldn't change. Like, I didn't change anything to the Heroku stuff. I think the confusion was because when you're starting the Rackup server with Cloud9, you use that like IP and variables, which is for Cloud9. And so I think Jay, when he saw that there's a similar thing in the proc file, I think he thought that needed to be changed somehow. So then he tried pushing it up to Heroku by changing that proc file. I think I'm almost positive. I can try it again, but I'm almost positive I've pushed it up without a proc file and it still works on Heroku, but the proc file shouldn't be changed from the instruction.
So the new update is about 30 seconds ago. I pushed it up to Heroku again with the original proc file, and that seems to work.
Yeah, good. Right. I mean, that's the interesting. That's why I was curious, is because in theory, it shouldn't matter where you're doing development when you're pushing to Heroku, because that's sort of a different set of parameters. Okay, good. So that's one less worry. So it sounds
you
like
haven't done that yet, right?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Matt, so this was just part 0. And when I go to the next parts, am I going to find anything?
I mean, not that I can remember. I mean, I obviously didn't remember this. Otherwise, I would have told you. I did mention it on the channel, but you weren't part of the channel at that time, and I don't think when you joined, you probably didn't scroll up to look at that
You're
conversation.
right. You're right.
And
I
even,
haven't done that.
no. I mean, that's no fault of your own. I don't think when I join channels, I don't normally go read the conversation of every conversation that everyone's ever had there. I think, and even for Richard, like I did mention it to Richard, but I think like probably when you were setting up your workspace, it would have been better to have configured that, because like Jay said, now having shared all of the workspaces with the students, now it involves an extra step that could have been avoided. Yeah, I don't think, Richard, I don't think your TAs would have done that, set up that that preview button for Sinatra.
Okay, right, and that is okay. So that's interesting. That's something that I would. The other thing I was going to ask about. So just tell me what that's about.
I'll share my screen with you, and then I can just show you.
Good.
That will probably be easier than trying to explain it to you. So if I come here to my projects, and I have no projects apparently. Hold on. Oh, that's because I'm in the wrong class. So if I come here, is this? I think I'm in as a student here. Maybe. Hold on. My projects. Oh no, I'm not. So because the Sinatra uses a different it uses a different part than Rails does. It uses 9292.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using Rails, like this is from the configure of this button, like this here. Like I think when you first open this up, it's like something like this, maybe. It says project index, maybe, or it says box URL. I can't remember when you first open it up what it says. But as someone who has write permissions to this, you can come here, or I think admin permissions. You can come down here to configure, and that will take you to this .codio file. And then you have here like the preview button configuration. And you can see that they have this configured for like if you want to see the project index, if you want to see the current file, and then if you want to use the box URL, which this will open up in a different browser window, and this box URL SSL will open up inside of an extra window here. And then what needs to be done is just this line needs to be added. Like you need to add a comma here,
Okay.
You need
And
to
then
add.
you told me that for part 0, you don't need that AutoGrade test scripts. When does that come in?
No. You don't need this for any of this stuff. This is from our attempt to do the AutoGrader. So you wouldn't need, the students wouldn't need this at all. And this will be changed. This is just our playing around with how to get the AutoGrader working. I think that's the only thing is that I guess you've written this up for your students, but your students don't have access to this file, I think.
I think they do. Isn't that in there? There's one of those in.
If I come here to, so this is
environment.
So here I'm logged in.
I tried it on one of my
they do.
student accounts.
Yeah, they do. Okay, so yeah, they would just need to do that.
I've emailed you to Richard and Matt. Sorry, Janet, I don't have your email address.
Yeah, it would be good in general to send this to the mailing list, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. But I've sent it to you guys right now, just so you can see what I've done so far.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that bad gateway will come up until you actually start the server.
Yeah, the Sinatra homework. Yeah. Yeah, this here I don't even have anything cloned inside of here, but yeah, you would need to come to a terminal and then there's that the command changes a little bit. Instead of just doing rack up and the other stuff, you add the hosts like this, and then that will say it doesn't have a gem file. So, but if I did have a gem file, then like in this version
and
here.
If I can share my screen, I can show you how it works with it set up.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So here is where I just so I put the standard proc file in, and then did this push Heroku master again, and that seemed to work, and it gave me this URL to deploy, which is here, which is showing the current version of what's in my app file,
Okay.
which is here. So this is the one that you changed just to see the results being changed.
What file is that?
That's app.rb, which
Oh yeah,
which
okay,
is
I got it.
defined in part 0.
Yeah, it's just small. So
I'll try something again.
So this won't show there because you need to push it up again.
right.
But if
You
you
need
open
to
up
push
the
the whole thing up again?
yeah,
Same
or if you
thing.
just open up the start the local server and then check it out on the so you can show.
Yeah, I've done that on the local server.
Yeah, but you said you're gonna show Janet and Richard.
Oh, on the local server?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see what we're doing here. Now my screen doesn't want to scroll up.
I can tell you the command if it makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
It's a bundle exec, and then the name of the server is rackup. And then after rackup, you type like 2 hyphens and host. No, together actually. The hyphen host, yeah. And then 0.0.0.0, 4 zeros separated by periods.
As if it were a IP address.
Yep.
Which it probably is.
Yep.
And now,
then, yep. So now having added that preview button, all the student needs to do is just click on that preview button.
Now I hit Sinatra URL, and that pops open this window. And that's what's now in that app.rb.
Okay.
So you notice that what it pops up is the reward economy is what this version of Codio is. That's the 2-word thing. And then it's going to reward economy -9292.codio.io. And that was what was in that Codio file line that Matt added.
Okay. And that is, so I was going to ask sort of from the get-go exactly what that um, um, stuff in that configuration file that we were looking at. And I'm not sure, Matt, if you've been around long enough, if I would say, did we have anything equivalent in Cloud9, or is that a is that not something you can respond to?
I'm not. No, I don't think we do. Like,
Okay.
to the best of my ability, Cloud9 doesn't have like this just single button that you can just click on and it opens up the preview.
These are just shortcuts in Codio, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's all. Because I was like I was waiting to try and figure out like what is all this about, and all this is really stuff that the students in the past would have to just enter some commands, and now we're able to configure buttons to just save them that step. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, they can. I mean, I think that there might be another way that they can find like how to open up like every one of their workspaces will have these like two. The way it works is they have these two keywords here, which would probably be to do with like, I think if maybe if I did it in here, I would find that yeah, that no, Carlo, Nevada, that it would be the same as the. No, it isn't the same as the two keywords. But each workspace has these two keywords, so they could just open up their own browser window. You know, if you provide them with whatever these two keywords are, and you could just tell them. You know, you could provide them with this URL if you find that easier than them coming here and like hitting configure and adding this line, all this kind of stuff. Then you could just click on this to find out what the keywords are, and then. But I'm not sure if these keywords change from.
I think every time you start up a Codio instance, you get a different pair of words.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, and I thought those were okay. I mean, create a new one.
It seems to be Codio's way of identifying instances, or your instance.
Yeah. Okay. So if
everything is going to Codio.io.
So this one's Garcia Crimson.
And if you look at the username in a Codio instance, it's Codio.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does this mean that if I guess I'm a little unclear, can we set up this if we do this before we distribute this to the students? Can we set this up for them, or is this something that they have to do unique based on their particular instance?
No, I think you can set it up for them. It's just that if you've already given them access to the workspace, then they will have a clone of whatever it was when you gave it to them.
Okay.
You should have in your email right now my first draft of the changes the students have to make to the.
And this is stuff that is outside the repo, but inside sort of the workspace that we would share with the students. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's adjusting. The repo instructions are written assuming Cloud9.
Yeah.
And I just put some instructions there that I pretty much all got from Matt.
Okay.
And I'm ready to send that out.
So it does stay the same. It doesn't change from every time you load the
Right.
It does stay the same, but I don't know if this. I would have to check to see if this is the same for for all of the workspaces, or if it's something that's.
I think it's different for each student.
Yeah, it could be.
I
mean because that's the way it would identify which one it's going at. Okay, so Jay, if you shared the instructions that are on GitHub the sort of the common instructions with your students without modifying them.
Right.
And what I may do, and it sounds like what I ought to think about doing in the next few hours, is forking them, modifying them for Codio, and then sharing that modified instructions with the students, as well as updating the workspace.
Right. I don't know that you can update the workspace once they've already got their copy of it.
Right. Well, I'm going to update the workspace prior to.
Okay.
Because my students will be getting it tomorrow.
Okay. Because my students have already used Codio for homework 1.
Right. But you have to give them the link to the instructions for the Sinatra homework.
Yeah. Right now it's in the SPOC. It's just pointing to the SAS book.
Right, and that's all stuff that I would modify before releasing it to my students.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that because I'm going to release it tomorrow. See if you think the.
Oh, well, if you're releasing it tomorrow, then how have they sort of already cloned it?
No, I'm releasing homework 2 tomorrow.
Right, but how have they? Oh, you're having them, I see. Are you having them reuse the homework 1 workspace?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah.
Okay, because one thing that I was thinking of doing, and now what you were saying makes it more interesting, is to create a new workspace for them for homework 2 that would all sort of have it all this stuff preloaded for them.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was asking if in fact you had, why the students have access to all this stuff when you haven't released it yet.
All right. No, they all have their Codio. So I didn't even think of doing a different Codio project. Because there seemed to be so much that I had to do to set up the Codio project.
My understanding, and this is all third hand, is that the way Codio seemed to be set up is that each assignment you might set up a different workspace and different sort of grader and parameters for it. I thought that was Codio's model. So what I did is we set up for our Ruby intro homework a workspace, and I happened, just because I was convenient and running out of time, I happened to reuse it for the Ruby calisthenics that I did. For me now, I'm calling this homework 3 as the Sinatra homework. And if I didn't run out of time, I was thinking of trying to just set up a new workspace. So when we gave them that workspace, it had everything sort of pre-configured for them for the Sinatra homework, which would be that config file and possibly also like a copy of the repo that we'd want them to use, all preloaded. The issue, I think I'm trying to remember how we do that. And then the issue is once they start using that, once we distribute that, then yeah, we can't after the fact change things easily.
Yeah, well, I've only got 18 students, so it's easier for me if they keep the same Codio, which was set up just in general to work with the version of Ruby and the version of Rails that we're using. And I've been doing my testing on that same project.
Okay, that's fair. Matt, do you have an opinion on that? Yeah, I guess when maybe the last time we met, we were working on the assumption that maybe they would use the same workspace for all of them. That's why, like, even in those instructions that your TA sent, he was like installing Rails and these kind of things that you wouldn't need to install if you were just using for the first week. But since then, we've met with the Codio people, and we didn't really get a chance to talk to them so much, but he did point us in the right direction. And then we realized that the projects are like basically treated as units for the So I think that that does lead a little bit of credence to what Richard was saying, as far as like having a different workspace per homework assignment. So I'm not sure. Like, but at the moment, we're not using with AutoGraders, so that's not really that relevant. But maybe in the future, maybe that's how it will end up working out. Like, I'm not sure what would be easier. I mean, it would be nice to set up one that would work for all weeks, because then you only have to do it once.
Right, but in theory, though, it shouldn't be hard to set up. You know, I mean, you do have to sort of configure things one way or another for new homework, either in terms of instructions or whatever. And if you just configured it that way and said, well, here's the link, then that would be more work in some area, but less work in another area, it sounds.
Do you need to, I guess, like for you to have like a class with a lot of students, do you need to, like, can you invite them to that? You can, there's an easy way to invite all your students to that workspace.
Yeah, I think what I do is I think we provide a link to them.
Okay.
And they sign up for it. I mean, whatever they did the first week is what they would do again, and I don't remember that being arduous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the benefit of doing it the way Jay's talking about doing is that you don't have to reinstall RVM, which takes some time, and then install the proper Ruby version. You know, you would be able to, like, if you reuse the same workspace, then you would, or at least make like a workspace that you can go adding to, like clone.
Exactly, right. So we would have some workspace that would be like, okay, here's our base, and then we would copy that and modify that each time. The advantage is if we can. So I will look into that. My issue is because of the storm, which I'm not convinced. Either my TAs have all like been washed away, but I really haven't heard from them for 5 days, and so what I do will depend on whether they resurface in the next few hours. But that's why this is particularly helpful. Okay. Good.
Yeah, for you, Jay, I wonder if instead of having the students do it, which, I mean, it's not too complicated, to be honest, but at the same time, like, that's not really the point. The point is to have them be doing stuff that's related to what you're teaching in the course, not related to other things, auxiliary things. Like, I wonder if you couldn't just actually give permission to the workspace that you've modified, and then just have them use that for the rest of the course.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm not 100% either, but I think that if you just go to projects and go to permissions, and then I'm not sharing my screen anymore, am
I? No, you're not.
I mean, it's up to you if you don't see a benefit of that. So you come here, like, you have project permissions that you can find here in project. So this, let's presume this is the new test one that you've done, where you've added the Sinatra and stuff. And then you come in here to project and you come to permissions, and then that will, I mean, maybe it's better for you to do it on your end, actually. But you can see here, like, that you can search, and then if you do, like, mine are ESAS, but yours would probably be comp, like, and then I can give all your students permission to this workspace that I have here, which I won't do, but I can do. And then presumably if I do that, like, I could try to give myself.
You can give it to teachers.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. Or I think this maybe this MWriter00 is another one that I have. So I have this. So if I give write permissions, and then maybe that's.
Well, then aren't they all working on the same? You're giving them permissions to use your project.
Yeah.
So they would have to log into your project or something, and then they'd all be working on the same project.
I mean, no, that wouldn't be what you would want. I mean, they can fork it, but I guess like that involves an extra step. And I'm not. So you guys, you were able to give them permissions to this to the clone of the workspace from going through here in classes, presumably.
Yeah,
Here it's this one here.
yeah, yeah. So that's what the students
No, this
see.
is this is what you see.
Yeah, that's mine.
But and there's your students.
You're in there as a instructor.
Yeah, exactly. I was just wondering if there's a yeah. So maybe I don't know. I if you share it that way, then maybe they'll be able to go to just my instance. I don't know. I'd have to play around with it.
Yeah. Well, again, for a small class, it's not a big deal to give them all the instructions that I sent you that we worked out yesterday.
Yeah, and for Janet, we can get that sorted out with those instructions that you've written up, so that this doesn't happen.
Janet, are you using Codio?
Codio has not responded to my request for a demo. It's been over a week.
Right, that is odd. And have you followed up at all? Because there was a little bit of a snafu on my end because I set up an appointment and it turned out that the guy Philip was flying at the time, but he was very apologetic and got back to me as soon as he landed, and we set up something for a few hours later. So,
yeah, no, two of us have sent in requests and neither of us have heard anything. And the only thing, whenever I say contact them, it just gives me that same form that I filled out before. So I've been trying to get a virtual box set up because I have 2 more days I can prep. So I'm kind of at a point where,
right.
The window of trying anything is closing really rapidly.
Okay,
so,
and what about, have you tried emailing this? I mean, you may not be interested, but have you tried emailing Philip directly?
I don't have any emails for anybody.
That's what I was going to.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah, because all I have is the form, and I got a virtual box. I managed to do the book walkthrough. I've never tried the Sinatra homework because that was post virtual box. So that would be the next thing on my list.
I've got Janet. The guy I talked to was Mark Carpenter, who was the VP of Technical Sales. He was quite good and friendly, and I have his email address and a phone number.
That would be very helpful.
It's M. Carpenter.
It may be, you want to type it in the chat? That may be easiest.
Sure.
I know.
The other kind of unrelated question, has anybody been able to get the new version of the book?
No.
Because I've been on the phone with Amazon. I spent 40 minutes with them on Saturday. We even repurchased, and I cannot get the new version of the book. I emailed Armando. He said he refreshed his information, but that everything on his end is good. But if I bring up the purchase page, the see inside shows a 2018. But when I go to Amazon Cloud Reader, I'm still getting the 2016. And there was an update button at one point. I pushed it, and it didn't do anything. So that's kind of also a problem, since they have to do the book walkthrough and they need to be able to have those examples work.
Well, the thing, my understanding is the 2016 one is pretty much all. I don't even know if I've been able to upgrade to that, honestly. But I have, my own issue because I have sort of a very early version of this and I've never been able to upgrade. But I think the students, if they get the 2016 one, they should be pretty in pretty good shape. That's what I have my students using, because the new one wasn't even out when I started the course, and it looks like the changes are relatively minor.
Okay. Yeah, because
from what I scanned, at least, I don't know how advanced you get, but certainly there's only some subtle changes later on in the course, and those are fairly well listed. So I mean, there's a lot of things for you to fret about, but the book version, I wouldn't worry about as a major time sink.
Okay, because I haven't taught it in 2 years, so I wasn't sure, what all had changed. So
the interesting thing is, when the students start, which is now for you going to be in a few weeks, it's very likely that they will get the new version if anyone is getting it.
Yeah, I don't know. I said I purchased it September 11th and still got the old one. So I'm.
Yeah, but that was okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
either way, it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. But I am pretty sick of calling Amazon because every time they do the same thing, they can't solve it. They say, I'll go research this. I'll call you tomorrow. They make this big show of getting my contact information and time zone, and then I never hear from them again.
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay. And this Philip, who I gave you, is I just saw in his email it says CEO. So
okay.
If Codio is still alive, which their website seems to be working, I think he would be sort of concerned if you're doing requests and not getting back. And if he doesn't get back to you, then something is up.
Yeah.
Too.
Then it's time to panic.
Now
I had an issue getting in Codio a week and a half ago, and I just sent a message there to the guy that we were meeting with if he could just give me access again, and he didn't respond. But I noticed the next day I was back in. So
yeah. So maybe I'm hoping, and then we haven't heard anything from. I mean, the whole reason I did this Codio thing is that it seemed like Armando was like moving in that direction, and with not hearing from Armando and not hearing from Sam, I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll see. Now, let me throw out this. Is Janet was talking about going back to VirtualBox, and when we were talking about that kind of option, Matt, you were talking about using Docker, correct?
Yeah.
And so I'm not prepared to get into the middle of it, but it sounds like if we wanted it, might want to bring up the issues if instead of going back to the way we did it 4 or 5 years ago with VirtualBox, there may be a better alternative if we want to create a local environment for students, which I came close to pursuing until sort of Codio was looking more attractive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've done.
Summarize that for Janet, Matt.
I mean, I don't think it would be something ready right now, because the thing is with
she's okay. So go on.
Because the thing is that we would need to get the Docker files written, specific to the course and test them, which I think would be pretty difficult to do. Like, I mean, the thing is with a VirtualBox is that you're going to have your own like complete computer with it inside of it, so then you can, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what setup you would need to do inside the VirtualBox. I guess, you'd need to get Ruby installed, and you need to get Git installed. And yeah, then there's other things that we got installed inside of Codio, like Node.js for the Rails part of it. Other than that, I think that would probably be it.
Yeah, so what I did was I pulled up the online instructions from the book website. Since I didn't have the new book, I didn't want to trust it. And it talked a little bit about what you'd have to do to get it running on your own environment, although not nearly enough. So I kind of followed what I could from that. And then what I did was I pulled up the Cloud9 instructions, and there was a script you could run. I couldn't run the script. I tried running some of the commands in the script. Some of them didn't work, but some of them did work, and it at least works far enough that I was able to get Rotten Potatoes running locally. I have not tried to deploy to Heroku. I mean, I had to do a little bit of Googling because, yeah, I ran into you don't have JavaScript. So then I, Googled and said, oh, Node.js is the easiest way to do it. So I installed that, and that was fine. I had to figure out how to install Git. That was fine. So it was a few hours, but it wasn't really horrible. And I think I managed to take notes on what I did. Probably the most annoying part was trying to get the operating system onto the VirtualBox because my first download just stalled. So I'm watching it and it's like 30 minutes. And I'm like, how big is this? So I Google how big is it? And I'm like, yeah, that shouldn't take 30 minutes. So,
Yeah.
So that was probably the most part of all of it. But, you know, but I haven't tried the Sinatra, so I'm assuming I'll need different things for that. So, well,
maybe, probably not. I mean, the thing is that a lot of the stuff is in the gem file, so you can just bundle install it. You know, I'm trying to think like I don't think there's anything else that you need for that besides, because you have the right Ruby version. And then once you have that, you just bundle install and you'll have the rack up, which is the the server, and then you'll have the Sinatra as well. So I think that should be okay. I mean, I did get for Docker, I did get it at least working on my machine for the first and second, what we're calling the first and second week of homework, which includes the Sinatra app. And I haven't tested that on. The thing is that because with Docker, the thing is that the students don't need to install they need to have Docker and Docker Compose installed on their computers, which depending on what computer they have, is relatively straightforward. But so that's something they need to install. But then after that, I haven't been able to test whether, there are some differences between getting it working on Windows, for example, and having it work on Linux. So I haven't been able to test whether that works on, and then I haven't done anything on Works 3, 4, and 5 because we got pulled in a different direction,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the VirtualBox solution to me is still more appealing than it sounds like it is to other people. The downside was there was this large download and setting it up, but once people did that, they were able to work locally, and even if if the internet connection went down, which sometimes happens for a variety of reasons, they can still get sort of all the work done except pushing to GitHub and pushing to Heroku. So I like that solution. My issue with it is that it's not being kept current, as Janet is finding out, and that's sort of like, so someone really, that's not being maintained. So that's why I went with Codio, was just because that's where the effort was going, and that's where I figured the support would be easiest. But yeah, I mean, to hear from over soon from Sam and from Armando, and figure out where this stuff is where the efforts are going.
Yeah, it didn't take that long to build the VirtualBox. I mean, even just sort of trial and error. And I think I saved it. I saved it at a point where it was before I had to start entering any of my credentials. So hopefully, before the SSH keys. So hopefully I'm hoping I can give the students what I have there, and I have a small class, so, we can muddle through. Because, the problem is the students all have different kinds of computers.
Yeah.
So, and I just have a Mac. So, it's always a challenge if the student has something on their Windows machine. I'm like, I can't help you much. So having the nice thing with the VirtualBox is you can just say, here's this thing, and it's going to be equally annoying for everybody, because, I mean, the whole cut and paste thing just drives me nuts. I think I found some blog post. Maybe there's a way around it, but it drives me crazy. I can't use shortcuts.
Yeah, you can. I was doing that the other day, with the VirtualBox, where you can share copy and paste between host and guest. There's if you're using
I have that set up, but it doesn't let me use the shortcut keys on the Mac. I still have to do the right click and the menu and
okay, so it's a Mac. Okay.
It's super annoying. Yeah. So I think I found a blog post somewhere where they supposedly have a way around it, but I just haven't had time to.
I don't have enough experience with VirtualBoxes to really be definitive about anything, but I didn't think you could set it up and just share it with multiple people.
No, so, what happened? Go on.
Well, you can save an image. All right, so you save your machine image, and then somebody can just load that in, and that'll give them the operating system and everything else.
Right.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's what we started out with the course, is that there was a 4 to 5 gigabyte image that Armando provided from his course in Berkeley, and there was a link to it, and people just downloaded it. So it was painful to get started. It would be, people would come to class, not be set up. I would say, I would take them to the back room because it was too much on the Wi-Fi for have like 80 students downloading 5 gigabyte files and then spending the time. But once it's set up and that's a one-time thing, then they were golden.
So the students still need to install a VirtualBox on their machine, but then they can use that image to install the operating system.
Right. I mean, they set up VirtualBox and then they point to this image and they basically have a VM which has everything pre-installed and pre-configured. And in theory, nothing can go wrong. And at worst case, if any, just like the workspaces here, if anything went wrong, we would just say, start again, create your own new image, and within 15 minutes or half an hour, they would be back, or less if they didn't have to re-download. They would be back from scratch.
For me, having just played a little bit with the VirtualBox and done stuff in Docker, it's just like because the thing with using Docker is like all those things that you were pointing out that are positives versus using a browser IDE, like in the fact that like if the internet goes down and all that kind of stuff, you would be able to do all those same things with Docker as VirtualBox. The only difference is that Docker like uses. You don't have to use like a partition of your memory and your RAM on your computer to use. It uses all your available RAM, and so it potentially is much faster than VirtualBoxes. But again, we aren't ready to just roll it out. So.
Right, and that's why. Okay, so that confirms all that I was saying in that it sounded like Docker when and if it would be configured would be more attractive, easier to set up, and a better user of resources. But the issue is it's not. It will take more work than to set it up, which is fine. And that was my issue with VirtualBox, but that was 4 or 5 years ago when I would have some people with these ultra books that would have 2 gigabytes of RAM and really not enough. Really not enough to run VirtualBox. So. And that's why the cloud became more attractive.
Yeah, I mean, it's something for next semester, like I'm interested in completing weeks 3, 4, and 5, the Docker files for those, because it shouldn't be anything too complicated. Like I'm doing stuff with projects with Agile Ventures, setting up Docker instances that are much more complicated than the stuff that we're needing to set up for this course. And that's going relatively smoothly. There are some issues, but I stopped for the reasons I already stated, and it's kind of it seems like it's too close to everyone, or some people already actually started. So if Janet, I mean, if you run into like emergency mode, then I can dedicate some time to depending on when.
But Janet is not starting for several weeks. Her ability to work on it is going away, but you have a course. She has a course in between. So all I would say is I think we'll stay on the current path, but if we hear from Sam and Armando and all that everything's not smoothly going forward with Codio, we need to look at that backup plan.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and
there are going to be schools who are going to have issues with Codio and pricing because I had mentioned, the students might have to pay $15 for a Codio license. And I was told, you can't do that unless you advertise a class as having lab fees and,
Oh, you can't just call that a textbook because the actual book is only $10?
Yeah, apparently not. Although I haven't talked to the financial aid people, so that might be worth making a phone call because the textbook is so cheap. And I was told that even though the bookstore won't support the textbook, they can still get reimbursed. But yeah, that's the big issue is I want to make sure that if a student is taking classes on scholarship and has textbooks covered, that they're not going to get hit with this extra fee. And I certainly don't want to be teaching a class that only students with money can take. Because that would be terrible.
Janet, you said 15, like 15?
Well, so in theory, right, if a student license is $15 a month, then since my class lasts 3.5 weeks, in theory, my students could buy 1 month of Codio, right? I mean, I don't know, not having talked to the Codio people, but my expenses could potentially be much less than any of yours on the student
Yeah.
Well, they were talking about $40 or $50.
Right.
I don't recall if it was a year or a semester.
Right. What Philip was telling me was somewhere on the order of $50, which was problematic for me, given that we could do VirtualBox for free.
Well, if a
Yeah.
student license is $15 a month, then a student license that lasted a whole semester would be around $60 because they'd have to have it for that long. So I don't know whether they're doing a discount or what they're doing, but yeah, the only pricing I could find on their website at all was they did say student licenses were $15 a month.
Well, at last I heard, Armando was negotiating with them.
Right, but we haven't heard anything since.
Right.
So.
I haven't heard anything from Armando for a while.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
guess
I
we
got an
should
email from him
mention
Saturday when I complained about the textbook. Couple emails, but
I just went to Amazon and it's only showing the old deal to me,
so if you
including
click
the $10 AWS credit.
If you click on See Inside, you should be able to
Yeah.
see a page with the 2018 date in it.
Wow.
I guess I should mention real quick. I've got to get going. Because I have.
We have.
Okay,
but-
Matt, before you go, how far have you gotten with the homeworks with Codio?
I've done all of them.
Okay, so you think at this point, now that we're set up for Heroku, everything should be fairly smooth after this?
Yeah, I don't think you should have any other surprises. I mean, I'll have to
All
double
right.
check for starting the server for the Rails server. I'll have a look at the notes that I took when I went through it.
I've only gone through part 0 of Sinatra homework so far.
Yeah.
But, okay. Well, if I run into any problems, I will send up a flare for you.
Yeah, and if I see anything about weeks 3, 4, or 5 that is different from the instructions there. I mean, I think the same way to start the server, you won't be using the rackup, but I think you use like a Rails server, and then you have to use like a host or a -b to bind the URL to that 0.0.0.0 that allows for everyone to access it. But yeah, I should mention that on Friday we're scheduled to meet again with the Codio people, so about auto-grading stuff. So yeah,
Good.
Okay. You can beat them up over the head about not responding to people.
yeah, exactly. You'd be like, you know what? I talked to Janet. She told me that.
Janet moved on by Friday.
Yeah, hopefully.
But I had to, I think unlike anybody else, I didn't have a legacy Cloud9 system. And we spent a lot of time with AWS, and I had my campus AWS guy working with them, and just AWS was not there to do this for students
Interesting.
at the beginning of the semester. So for me, Codio, I got a 1 semester free trial, and I'll worry about next year after this semester.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I got to have Codio work for the whole semester.
Or a scramble. Okay, so the one thing, and just in summary, so we can go, is unlike Sam, I have not been taking like good notes if there's any sort of action items and so forth. I'm also going to be scrambling to get back and get prepared for the reopening of my university tomorrow. So if anyone has any ideas of how to summarize, especially if there's any like action items or summaries, whether we do that in email or some other way, keep that in mind. I'll try and put up something maybe, and anyone else who has a little bit of time to summarize, especially if there's any open issues.
Yeah, I mean, I can write something down now. I noticed that as well. If people have anything to say.
Yeah. Sam has been communicating slightly on Slack during this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anything from you, Richard?
All good. I just have to. I mean, my issue is nothing you can help with. Is whether my TAs are alive and well and can work today.
Okay, and that's just with getting the workspace set up. Yeah,
I guess in summary, if given Jay's instructions, which I sort of realize are probably mainly going to be the configuration thing and the way to start the local server.
Simple.
Yeah, is that my backup plan is to use the sort of Jay's approach and use the existing workspace and the existing repo, and then if I can improve that between now and the next 24 hours, I'll do that.
Okay, cool. So I've added there, nothing we can help with. Need to get the workspace set up for the Sinatra week. Jay, anything from you?
Not the moment, as long as I can get help with Codio as we move along.
Okay. Yeah. Ongoing Codio support appreciated. And Janet,
Janet is in limbo.
Yeah, and I think Codio is being non-responsive.
Yeah.
I do have a VirtualBox. I was successfully able to get the book walkthrough working on VirtualBox. So if people need to do that, I can send them my notes. And then
Awesome.
the textbook, if I can't get the new version and then my students do, then then that's also a problem because I want to make sure we have the same version of the book. So
right. I mean, in theory, you could buy it as a student, but yeah,
well,
that should be.
I actually bought it Tuesday, so they Amazon, yeah, they deleted it. We deleted it off my account, and then I did a repurchase. They gave me a $10 credit, and I did a repurchase, and still had the old book. So unless there's something Armando did on Saturday that made it go live, but again, I talked to them I spent 40 minutes on the phone with them Saturday, and
yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, I gave up on that kind of thing, and but I'm in worse shape than you. It's just whenever I tried deleting and upgrade, I still always got the same thing I started with, so I gave up.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, the book walkthrough, fortunately I had given the students updated instructions and those seemed to all still work. So that was good.
Janet, if it
fixed.
Just as a reminder, I think I remember an email where Armando offered instructors a PDF copy, which is what I have. That's how I've kept current. I'm not using my Amazon. But
I asked Armando for a PDF copy a while back, but I never got a response.
Yeah, he'd offered me, I think, a Mobi. I guess that must be the format for the Kindle, but I didn't want to deal with, if I could get a PDF, that'd be awesome. I didn't want to deal with trying to get a Kindle format book onto my device. Yeah, that just was,
yeah.
I mean,
okay,
I have access to the GitHub, so I could just build my own, but it just would be one more thing I have to do. I'd rather not, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's how I knew that the cover page date should be correct too, because I said I went on to GitHub and I'm like, did they just not change the date? I'm like, no, it's got the new date. So
okay.
Yeah. So Richard, are there any action items that I mean, we need to make sure Janet gets hold of Codio, but it sounds like you have an email that you're going to try, Janet, to see if you can get Philip to respond.
Yeah.
At this point, since I really just have today and tomorrow to do any sort of class prep, if VirtualBox is going to end up working, I may just go with that because, I'm leaving town on Wednesday and then I'll start a new class on Monday, and there's just that class will take up all of my time. So, if I could get we've got an IT person in the department who, if I get her working on it, that would be great. Or we've got a paraprof who was supposed to be on this call with me today. If we could get him working on it, but at this point, I don't have any more, no more Janet time.
Yeah.
I have to teach my students CS1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, and that's called the issue. The thing that concerned me is that if edX and the AutoGraders on edX are going away, then then things change, more dramatically, at least for me.
Yeah.
And so then the virtual box is not a solution if we don't have sort of edX and behind the scenes.
You don't know what's happening with the AutoGraders eventually?
No, but that was the whole idea, was like trying to move them to Codio.
Yeah, but I think that wouldn't migrate away from edX, although I'm not sure exactly what they would do on edX specifically. But the whole idea with the Codio is that there was this free stuff because of a deal they made with edX and Codio. So I guess
the issue is that on edX is using some Azure servers, right, to run the AutoGrader. In other words, it's linking. I mean, it's not edX per se, but it's linking through edX. But it's that expense of those backend servers that I thought Armando was looking to move away from.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing they may want to do for the future is making it possible that we could run our own local AutoGraders.
Oh gosh.
Because don't you have that for the one homework, Richard?
Sort of. I mean, this is getting back.
I'm planning on using yours, so I hope you still do the Ruby calisthenics.
No, I'm using that goes through edX.
Does that go through edX? Okay.
Yeah, that configuration, I set up the configuration to configure the AutoGrader so that when you submit to the AutoGrader, it finds the right test files, but it is using all that whole mechanism of the existing AutoGrader.
Okay.
So when I first started the course, we were sort of promised AutoGraders. That was like the advertising, and they weren't ready yet. And so I wound up rolling my own with the help of a TA and getting them to run sort of locally, where locally was actually Heroku. But that project is like old and not going to relive. So yeah, so it's a little bit, we need to figure out what the future holds.
Yeah,
for those of us.
Yeah, because I could see there, if it becomes required that everybody has to have Codio licenses, there is a possibility that might exclude some institutions and some students.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think that's, definitely a worry, right? Because I mean, we were worried about students not being able to use Cloud9 if they didn't have a credit card.
So what I would say, I mean, I know Matt wanted to go, and a lot of this stuff, I won't say, is above our pay grade, but we're speculating, and the people, it's probably more time efficient if, Sam and Armando and who people like would weigh in when they're available.
Yeah.
So Matt, you can add to my comments. I'm doubling down on Janet on the book.
Okay. And Richard, can you share the video to the
Yes.
channel?
Yeah, I may not have done that last week. I'm confused because it used to happen automatically, and now I'm not sure what you do or what other people do to make it sort of happen automatically. But at the very least, I'll put it in a Slack or email when it gets processed. Can I do that now? Or
yeah. You can. I can share it if you if.
Oh, you can do it. Yeah, you can.
Can you just share the link with me?
Okay. Well, that's and where do I get that link? I have to go back to.
I don't. I think it's on your YouTube.
Yeah, going back. I wasn't sure. Today's the 17th. Google Hangouts on air. Edit. I mean, and I will get that link. Yeah, I don't want to give you the wrong link. So I will get that after we hang up. Is that fair?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe if this may be it. Whoa. That's what I was avoiding doing. Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm even connected anymore. Am I? Yes, I am. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I shared a link. If that's not the right one,
Don't think so, because this one I think is from when I was there, and I wasn't there last week. Or is this for
okay.
today?
I'll when we end this broadcast, I'll if I put it in Slack, is that good enough?
Yeah, that's from today, so that's good. If you the one from last week, I don't think is.
Oh, duh. Yes. I know I missed that, so I will do that right afterwards.
Cool.
Slack.
Thank you.
Unless you want me to do it now, but it'll.
No, it's okay. I mean, it would be interesting to see the meeting from last week.
I just want to label them.
I was more interested in having this one so that if Sam wanted to watch us complaining, he could do that. He's told me that he has it. He watches it. He has this like tactic where he watches it on double speed. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know how he can pay attention on double speed, but
I did it last week, right? Did I start it?
Yeah, you did.
I thought I did, and I'm looking for a September 10th date in my library. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see if this does it. That was just right. That was last week.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. I gotta go because I have a short little window to get some food. But good to see you guys. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Good luck on your presentation, Matt. Okay.
I'll try to make it for the beginning of the meeting next week, but I'll be starting teaching, so I'll have to be in the class by 9 a.m. my time. So we'll see. Good luck with all the hurricane stuff.
Thanks. Yep. I mean, I'm looking out the window. I see some sun for the first time in a while. So we're making progress.
Good. Hope all your TAs are okay.
I hope I hear from them. Okay. All good. We'll communicate if we need any help. All of us. We know the rule. Okay. Take care until next week.
Bye-bye.